Call to order the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, April 20th, 2023. Present at the front table to my far left is Jessica Vitale, a voting member. Next to Jessica is Ed McGargy, a voting member. Hello. To my left, Glenelle Lukesh, our solicitor this evening. My right, Bill Rhodes, a voting member. Next to Bill, Jesse Poynton, a voting member. My far right, Kelly Kirk, Director of Zoning. New title, Kelly. And then Margie Buchanan we have from the Codes Office as well. Bill, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Please rise if you can. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the record, I just want to announce that we had an executive session meeting with the township solicitor regarding a confidential, urgent legal matter that commenced at 7 and ended at 8:05 and could not be avoided. And nor can I disclose the subject of it yet. We had originally scheduled 4 new cases this evening, 2 of which have requested continuances and will not be heard this evening. The 2 continued cases are Z23-06, Parks Best Car Wash. Since this is the first time this case has been put before the board, I'll read the entire description into the record. It's Parks Best Car Wash, Inc., owners of 2040 Old Westchester Pike, also known as 1903 Old Westchester Pike, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2201-0248-500, who seek a variance from the provisions of section 182-604 F1A to permit the placement of eight new vacuum equipment stations, 2 electronic payment stations with associated equipment, and a 12-foot by 8-foot shed within an identified 1% annual charge flood hazard zone and a regulatory floodway zone. If required, a variance from section 182-402C8 to permit changes to the existing non-conforming impervious surface area and any other relief deemed necessary by the board. Property is on C1 and located in the 1st ward. So when's our next hearing? 4th? So that case is going to be continued to our May 4th hearing. The other case that requested a continuance this evening is Z23-07, John P. Williamson, owner of 720 North Eagle Road, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2201-0036500, who seeks to appeal a notice of violation issued by the Township Zoning Officer on March 1st, 2023, regarding the placement of a 4-foot by 8-foot off-site advertising sign at the subject property and variances from the provisions of section 182-701G1 to allow off-site advertising at the subject property and 182-701C1A1 to exceed the maximum total sign area of 6 square feet permitted on the property, as granted by variance by the Zoning Hearing Board on May 15, 2003, which was case number Z03-7. Property is zoned R5 and located in the 4th ward, so that case is also continued to our May 4th hearing. That leaves 2 cases this evening, and the first is Z20. Wait, did you want to take one of the continuance? Okay. Z23-04, Jennifer Lukes and Jeffrey Persh, owners of 52 White Marsh Road, Ardmore, PA, DC folio number 2203-02222500, who seek variances from section 182-204C4 to exceed the maximum 20% building coverage by 2.7% or 185 square feet. Also, section 182-204C5B to encroach into the required 30-foot minimum secondary front yard setback by 4 feet, 6.5 inches, or 6.5 inches, and 182-204C6 to encroach into the minimum 10-foot side yard setback by 1 foot, 11.5 inches for the construction of a 2-story, 20-foot, 9-inch by 10-foot, 1-inch addition. Property is on R2 and located in 3rd ward. You guys here? Sure.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much for being here. My name is
I need to swear you first.
Oh, sorry.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Jennifer Renee Lucas, 52 White Marsh Road, Ardmore, PA 19003.
And Jeffrey
Yep.
Birch.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Jeffrey James Birch at 52 White Marsh Road, Ardmore, PA.
I'll wait till we see what the exhibits are. So we have your zoning application with the deed. Standing seems to be in order. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, Chair.
So along with your application, you submitted various attachments.
Yes.
Those need to be identified, marked and identified for the record, and then we refer to them by the exhibit number as you do your presentation. So with all these attachments to your application, I don't know which you want to mark and identify as exhibits. I'll give you this option. If you'd like, we can go off the record, take a 5-minute recess. Our solicitor can explain to you, and our court reporter, Arlene, will pre-mark the exhibits for you to smooth and speed the presentation along. Would you like me to do that for you?
Sure.
Okay. Take a 5-minute recess. Off the record, Jeff, please. All right, we'll resume the meeting of Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, April 20th, 2023. And I'm going to call you Jennifer and Jeffrey, if that's okay.
That's totally fine.
That's not
Yeah.
your last names. So during the break, you have an opportunity to identify the exhibits that you would like to mark.
Right.
And how many are there?
So there are 3.
Did you mark them already, Arlene? Okay, please give them to Arlene. Would you let now mark them?
Three is the.
Thanks, Arlene. Okay. So, Jennifer, you're holding the exhibit, so just real briefly, if you could just give me a brief description of what each depicts. So what is A1?
So A1 is additional information that we submitted with our packet. It has a picture of our house with an indication of the photograph showing what we're planning to do. There's also another part of that information which is summarizing recent applications that were approved by the zoning hearing board that are similar to ours. There's also minutes of the zoning hearing board meetings that are discussing those cases in more detail. And there's also a photograph of our block of our street that's showing some garages that have similar layouts to what we're planning for our addition.
And what's the total pages?
Let's see, so there's 13 in exhibit A1.
A1. All right, everybody have that? Okay. And what is A2?
So A2 is the the building coverage and maximum impervious surface coverage calculation sheet. And that's just a single page.
And A3?
A3 is our plot plan for our proposed footprint expansion.
Everyone have all the exhibits? Jesse, you have Jess? Ed? Good? Okay. Please tell us a little bit about what you would like to do and why.
Sure, okay, great. So if you would go to Exhibit A1 on page 2, I think I'll page through this right here. Right here, okay. So on page 2 of Exhibit A1 is a picture of our house, which is indicating what we are proposing to do. So on that photograph, this is our existing house, and so what we are proposing to do is to expand the footprint of our attached garage, widen it by 10 feet, and then put living space, put second floor living space above the expanded footprint.
Would
And
you remove the garage, or would the garage remain?
the garage would remain, it would be expanded.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no,
Go
that's,
ahead.
yeah, so that's the main thing. We want to widen it by 10 feet, and we currently have a deck on top, and we just replace that with living space. And so that's what we would propose to do. And so, should I explain the reason why we're asking for a variance?
Yes.
Okay, that's probably what we should do next. Okay.
That's the why. You
Right.
explained the what, now the why.
Exactly. So basically, if you look at the Exhibit A3, which is our plot plan, what you will see on the plot plan is there's a hatched area, which is indicating our proposed footprint expansion. And so that expansion is 10 feet by 1 inch wide, and it's the length of our existing garage, which would be 20 feet by 9 inches. And so that footprint, if you look at that, what you can see is that it is encroaching on the setbacks. And it is encroaching on the side yard setback, and it's also encroaching on the front secondary yard setback. We're a corner lot, so we have a front secondary yard, okay? And so the encroachment on the side yard is the same as the encroachment of our existing house, which would be 1 foot, 11 and a half inches. And on the encroachment into the front secondary yard would be 4 feet, 6 and a half inches. And the other, so there's encroachments onto the setback, and there is also our building coverage. By adding this additional footprint area, this would put us at about 22.7% of building coverage. And for R2, the maximum is 20%. And so we are here to seek a variance because of these various encroachments, and also the 2.7% going beyond the building coverage. So that's why we're here today. And so to sort of discuss the basis, if there are no questions, I'll discuss the basis for why we feel that we might have some justification to request this variance. For example, if you look at our lot, we have a lot of challenges with our lot. And so on the plot plan, you can see sort of the encroachments. So our lot itself is, so there are 3 reasons why we have hardships on our lot. Okay, so the first reason is that we have a very small lot. So we are zoned R2. The minimum lot size in R2 is like 10,125 square feet. Our lot is only 2/3 of that size. It's about 6,700 square feet. And so that is sort of a first hardship, is that we're dealing with a lot that's smaller than the R2 minimum. So our second hardship is that we have a very narrow lot, okay? So our lot width, the minimum lot width in R2 is 75 feet. That's the minimum width that is supposed for our zoning district. We have an extremely narrow lot, and that lot is, what is it, 63 feet, 10 and a half inches, which is more than 10 feet narrower than the 75 feet that's the minimum in R2. So the third challenge that we have with our lot, in addition to being very small, very narrow, it also has an irregular shape. And so if you look at the lot has a wedge shape, okay? So it is wider on the White Marsh side, and then on the opposite side of the White Marsh side, the side that's close to the, what we call the rear yard, that width of that lot is only 51 feet. So because of that, the wedge shape of our lot, we have this diagonal setback line. And so if you look at the plot plan, you can see that if we didn't have this diagonal, if we had a normal sort of rectangular lot, we would not be encroaching into the front secondary yard at all, because because of this diagonal, because of the strange shape of our lot, we have this diagonal line that is making it very difficult to build a reasonable extension to a garage. And so these are the 3 reasons why we have a very challenging lot and why we are seeking a variance. And another thing also with what we're requesting is that, it's important to note that what we're requesting is the minimum variance that we need to seek relief to do the extension to our property that we propose. And so there's a few reasons why it's the minimum, okay? So number 1, what we would like to do again is expand the footprint of our garage and put living space on top. Now, what we're planning to do is to put we're planning to change it to a side entry garage. And so the side entry garage is very consistent with other houses on our, let me go here. This is exhibit the A1. This, on page 12 of exhibit A1, is a photograph taken basically from our house. And so if you look at our house, you look at directly across the street from our house, so there's 100 White Marsh and there's 101 Cedar Brook, which are directly across from our house. And so what you see there is that the houses on our block that we face, all of them have side entry garages with living space on top. And so what we are proposing is consistent with other houses that we're facing directly on our block. And so in order to have a side entry garage, to show that we're having the we're requesting the minimum variance possible, in order to have a side entry garage, that has to be at least 20 feet long in order to fit a car. And currently, entering from the side, it's not wide enough, it's only 10 feet. So if we add another 10 feet, and I think we're adding 10 feet 1 inch, then it will make it long enough to put a car in a side entry, to make a side entry garage work. And so that is the minimum that we need in order to make it function as a side entry garage. So another reason why it is we're requesting the minimum possible is that if you look on exhibit A1, if you look on page, let me see, it's page 3. Page 3 is a table. Page 3 of exhibit A1 is a table that is summarizing previous zoning board cases that were heard by this body here that were approved that have similar or larger variances. So what we are requesting is a 2.7%, we're requesting a variance to go to 22.7% instead of 20%. And so these cases in this table are previous cases that were approved that are requesting variances to the building coverage. And so this is, over the past, since 2019. So looking at the minutes, there's minutes with further details, which I won't really go into, but there are minutes of these meetings that discuss these cases previously. So if you look at the various cases on page 3, we're requesting 185 square feet going beyond the 20%. Case Z1915, exceeded building coverage in R2 by 300 square feet. That was
and not to interrupt you, Jennifer, but every case has different facts and circumstances
Sure.
and needs and evidence that was presented, but I understand. You're saying there's precedent. I'm interested to hear the purpose of the expanded living space. Like, do you have children, you need more space, or
Yes.
something to that effect?
Yes, yes. COVID, we're all very close together. We need more living space. So we have 2 kids. And so we're cramped where we are. We want to expand. So
And you need the space, because if you want it, it's not a hardship, you need it, right?
Yeah.
And the lot is 15 feet, more than 15 feet narrower on one side than it is on the other. So
Yes, that is true.
it's an odd-shaped lot.
Yeah, it's
and
a
that's
very-
one of the hardships that you're claiming, right?
Exactly. It's that, that's going to be on the, I'm not sure if this is on here.
You explained it. I just
Okay.
don't know if you articulated the dramatic decrease in one side to the other. And I'm not trying to rush you. If you want to continue with the presentation.
Right, yeah, so that's, that was mainly what I was trying to say, is that what we're requesting is similar to previous cases. Of course, there are different facts, as you mentioned, in these various cases, but what we're requesting of 2.7% is similar or less than what's been requested before and approved. Let's see, so the final thing. So if you look on the plot plan, which is Exhibit A3, so if you look at what we are proposing, so the vast majority of the space that of this footprint that we are requesting is in the by right buildable space. And so there's small encroachments, on either side, and that's because of the strange shape of our lot, the wedge shape. These are consistent, our current house is already non-conforming, and so we are not becoming more non-conforming. We are, the encroachment that we have would be consistent with what we already have. And so, so this is just expanding this 10-foot, expanding our garage by 10 feet, and it's consistent with that. Okay?
Questions? Jesse?
Thank you for your presentation. It's good to have, you know what you need to tell us, and it's good that you came prepared. Thank you for that. It helps us. I do have a few questions. Let's see, you covered the first one. And you did confirm that it will be a two-car garage?
Well, it will, so it's going to have, it's going to be like, we're going to have one car there, and then we'll have a, what's it going to be, like a mudroom on the front side.
So what you're proposing will be a one-car garage, or?
So it will be the width of a two-car garage. There will be space to park one car. We can't make it wide enough let's see, we can't make it wide enough because then it really is strongly encroaching into the yard. And we only wanted to extend it by that 10 feet. And so there will be space for one car there and then a mudroom in the front side.
Okay, understood. So another requirement is 2 off-street parking spots, so that's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Will you be able to, and it appears you will, but I just want to make it clear for the record, will you be able to park 2 cars off-street and not have them stacked, meaning one car can maneuver and get out without the other one having to move for it?
Yes, we can pull one car, we can pull one car into the garage and then the other car can, be next to it.
What do you have, what is your current condition? Are you able to do 2 off-street parking spaces now?
It is tight.
It's tight because we overlap onto the sidewalk.
So would you testify that you are improving your off-street parking
Yes.
with
yes,
this
yes,
proposed use? Okay,
Definitely.
okay. I do notice that there is, and something you haven't mentioned, is there is a new patio as part of this proposal. Do you propose to have a roof over the patio?
No.
Would you accept a condition that you cannot add a roof in the future?
Yes.
Or enclose it?
Right, we want it open air.
Okay. I also noticed that what is noted as new paved driveway on Exhibit A3 is rather wider than the extension of your proposed extension. It's almost as wide as even the new patio. Is that the minimum new driveway you need?
So,
This one here.
so are you saying, okay, I think I see what you're saying. So why does the driveway expand to the new patio and not just to the
Correct.
garage itself?
And the reason I'm asking is because you're going over in building coverage and you're very nearly, we haven't touched on it, but your impervious coverage is getting up to 38% per Exhibit A3. So just looking for, is there any way to reduce that so that you could lower your impervious coverage?
So it will be a little bit challenging to reduce that just because then it will be harder to maneuver to get the cars in. So that sort of extra piece of the driveway there would enable us to maneuver more easily to get there. And it also provides us a walkway, like if we park in the driveway, we can walk to the patio.
Understood. When I wrote the question, I wasn't sure if if it was a 2-car garage or not. What is the shape of the new roof that you're proposing as part of the second floor overbuild?
Oh, sure, it'll be the same as what we have here. It will look just like this. It'll be like a continuation of this. Okay. So it'll be like we're stretching it a little bit farther. Okay. It will look exactly like this.
And the gutters, would you be able to manage the water so as not to impact your neighbors?
Yeah.
And the exterior treatment of the exterior, say, are you going to use materials in keeping with the house and or of the neighborhood?
Yeah, probably hardy board, kind of like what we have here, like the hardy plank that's right here, or similar to what we have on our other side.
So you feel it will be in keeping with the look of the neighborhood?
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, and I can sort of point to these houses that are across the way,
That would be.
like this.
So that's Exhibit A, you're looking at
Oh, I'm sorry, Exhibit
A1.
A, page 12.
Page 12.
A1, page 12, yes. So for example, it's hard to see because there are trees here, but this one, it would, it would have a similar look to that
Okay.
in terms of the materials. Of course, it would be the same color as our house, which would be more of a yellow.
And this looks like, maybe it's because their lots are larger. They have what looks like a porch extension, but they have a roof on it. And-
Right, we will not have a roof.
Okay.
It would be like this, but with no roof.
Okay.
And it would be smaller than that in terms of depth, obviously. There would be 2 windows above.
And then I would also note that it appears, we didn't touch on this yet, but with this proposed extension, you would be within 3 inches of the rear yard setback. You understand that?
3 inches?
The rear yard setback is
Oh,
25
yes,
feet.
yes, that's correct, yes,
Okay,
yes.
so just so you know, you would be at your absolute limit on that end too.
Right.
Okay,
But we don't exceed it, though.
right, you don't, and so you're not asking for relief there, but you would be at your limit and would, you would need to come back here if you needed to add it on again.
Sure,
Okay.
that's correct.
And then my last question is, is there any trees that need to be removed as part of this project?
Let me go to the house. We don't have any trees on that side, no. Let me go here. So there's no, this is just grass right here.
Oh, and would the curb cut need to move?
The curb has to move. That's why that's why we say new curb cut. So we have to move the driveway over. So this will be grass now. So we'll put grass right here, and we're going to just move the driveway over here. And then so we can come in to the side.
No other questions, thank you.
Bill?
All right, why don't we stay on the curb cut? So York Road, State Road, or Township Road? Do you know?
Oh, let me see here. I do not know that. It says Cartway. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Assuming it's a Township Road for now, have you applied for the movement of the curb?
No, we haven't, because not yet.
The extension on the house on the south side that you had highlighted because of the analogous siding that you were pointing out. What is that?
The material of the other piece?
Now, what's the use of that?
Do you want me to go to the other photo?
You can see it right there, over on the south side of your house.
Here? Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
What is that?
That is siding, like aluminum
No,
siding.
no, what's the room?
Oh, that's a sunroom. That's
Okay.
my kid's playroom.
All right, and so it looks like, based on your impervious calculation, that the patio is approximately 166 square feet. Is that right?
That's about right, yeah. I'd have to pull that up, but yeah, that sounds reasonable. Patio, 166, yeah,
And that would be concrete?
yeah.
Okay, and you realize that you need a variance because you're projected to be 134 square feet over the limit. So it's really the patio that's putting you into the need for that variance?
But the patio is not covered. So the variance is for the building coverage. So the building coverage is, if you look
I'm
on.
talking about, okay, I'm talking about the impervious coverage.
So impervious, we're still within. We're about like 38, let me see the number here. 38% impervious is what.
2% under, okay.
Yeah, so we're,
got it.
yeah.
Got it, okay. And then, so you said you have, how old are your children?
14 and 9.
14 and 9. And so you said your hardship is that you have 2 children, and they're not quite young, they're school age. What is it about a family of 4 that doesn't fit in this house currently?
So I don't know if you want to say.
I think the key change was now we have home offices.
Okay,
Since
so
I
you're
now
working
work
from home.
remote and Jennifer has a home office, so using a bedroom as a combination bedroom and office for 2 adults is challenging as well.
And so the space above the existing and expanded garage is to be used for what?
That'll become the master bedroom, and the existing master bedroom
Will become an
the
office.
Okay, and you have many other bedrooms are in your house
2
currently?
others. 2
Yeah, but
others.
it's currently a 3-bedroom house.
It's currently 3, yes.
So you make it into a 3-bedroom house with a home office.
Yes.
And so the building coverage, okay, let me just see if I have any other comments at this point. Yeah, I'm good for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I believe I'm hearing the hardship also involved that your lot is smaller than required for this zoning district,
That's correct.
significantly smaller.
Yes.
And that you also have an irregular shaped lot, which makes you encroach. On the front yard setback, you're encroaching a maximum of 4 foot, 6.5 inches,
That's correct.
but on the front edge, it would be smaller than that. So
Yes, that's
4,
true.
6 is that.
Yeah, that's the maximum encroachment.
Okay, on the back half, where you're on your side yard setback, your existing house and existing garage already encroaches within that 10-yard setback.
That's correct. So it'd
You're
be-
not increasing the, other than the extension, you're not going closer to the property line than your existing house,
That's correct.
okay? On that front sunroom, did you ever receive any other variances for enclosing or on that addition?
We bought the house that was already there, so
Okay.
that was pre-existing.
In
In
2000.
2003, when we bought it.
I did hear with Mr. Pointman saying that your existing driveway is going to be removed and that area is going to be restabilized with vegetation.
Yes, that's correct.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica,
My questions have been asked.
okay, did you speak to your neighbors about this?
Not yet, no.
Okay, but you had no conversations with them about what you're doing? I was gonna ask you if they're opposed or in favor, or,
I don't know. I'll
Okay.
find out.
all right. Do you have any questions? Nope. So far, Billy? Okay. We may have more questions for you, but unless you have something else you'd like to add?
No?
Okay, with
No
that,
issue?
I'll ask if there's anyone, you guys can have a seat.
Okay.
If there's anyone present that received certified mail, who wants to testify? Ladies first. Who wants to come up? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I
And
do.
your full name and address for the record, please?
Joyce Raimondo. I'm sorry. Joyce Raimondo. Raimondo. 48 White Marsh. So I'm the neighbor, I guess, in the back, where the 2 foot, almost 2 foot encroachment is already, always has been. I've been in my home for 20 years. There's always a concern when somebody who's existing structure that's already that close is adding in terms of just,
I hate to interrupt you, but
What?
can you point out where your house is on
I'm directly behind their house. If you can kind of.
I'm going to show you.
Well,
that,
like, oh,
So this is A1, page 13. So here's their house. No, no,
right there.
it's all right. Immediately next door. As you face their house, as we face their house, you're to the left.
You jumped over that house.
Oh, you're behind it. Okay. Sorry, Eileen.
Yeah, right behind it. My driveway's on White Marsh. And you, I guess what I wanted to say, I mean, there's always issues with, light, airflow, that kind of thing. My backyard garden is back there, patio, whatever. But I think my foremost concern and what I'm trying to understand and be concerned with is water. We have a lot of water, and I have 2 sump pumps, and like, when you build this much, like, where does the water go? And I think somebody addressed that. Have you, they taken into consideration in the plans, like, where the water's going to be directed when there's more
If this
structure?
application was approved, it would be a condition of approval.
Oh, okay,
And during the building process, the township would inspect
Right.
that to make sure that the
Okay.
water is corrected away. It's something this board always takes into consideration.
I appreciate that, yeah. Other than that, I mean, yes, the existing footprint is as it was however many years ago when the home was built. And I was just wondering if there's any way, I mean, I know they've done everything to configure what they need for their home, but, you know, we're now extending that beyond in the same encroachment. I don't know if that's something that's, you know, can be looked at or adjusted or, you know, whatever to make this work for everybody.
So, other than the water, what's your specific concerns?
You know what, mainly water. Everybody's entitled, you know, in my mind to, you know, design a home that works best for their family, but our homes are close together. They're close. And I know that when I see this design, I understand a little bit better because it wouldn't go any further than that blue, right? So, you know, it would continue on because the garage is already there. We're just talking about the space beyond the garage. The garage is at the same place.
Any other concerns? Any questions for Joyce? Jesse? Bill?
Yes. Mr. Mundo, so which direction do you generally see water coming onto your property or leaving your property?
Oh, well, I have 2 sump pumps in my basement. You know, where do I see it? There's a lot of water on White Marsh Road,
Okay.
particularly at our end of it. Where do I see it leaving? Out of both of my sump pumps, basically.
So, I mean, it looks to me, based on page 2 of Exhibit A1, that, which is the York Road frontage of this house, that the York Road slopes from the right to the left. So, from here, that way. It looks like, is that fair?
I think so.
Okay, and so is your property slope from the back of your property towards the front of your property?
Yes, yeah. Yes, it does.
And is White Marsh Road relatively flat?
Yes.
Okay. And so if this project was conditioned, or an approval was conditioned on them controlling water so as not to adversely affect you, would you be in favor of the project at that point?
I mean, I can't say that I wouldn't be, you know, that's fine. I just don't want, you know, I'm worried about where water goes when you put more, and if you're assuring me that that's all,
Well, I'm not.
I know you're not.
Right.
What's your name, right? You know, I'm going to have to go with that.
Okay.
I am familiar with the architect on the project. So you know, that gives me some reassurance too, so. Anything else?
No.
Nope.
Ed or Jessica?
No question.
No?
Jessica?
I just wanted to follow up on your concern about extending the house into the existing side yard setback. Now that you've seen what's being proposed, do you have the same concern about the house extending?
No, I mean, I'm, you know, I'm not visually good at, you know, picturing driveways and where they aren't and what have you. But when I look at that amount of footprint, I mean, you know.
So that amount of footprint, in your opinion, looking at it now, probably wouldn't affect the light coming into
It's
your
gonna affect
backyard as
light.
much?
But, you know,
Okay,
not that much.
okay.
You know, I mean, when you look out a window, you're gonna see building, not trees and yards.
Okay.
But,
Thank you.
Okay,
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Joyce?
no,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, all the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Your full name and address for the record, please?
Is Thomas Dante Fusaro, It's 53 Cedar Brook Road. I am the property which abuts to the rear yard, where you can see the telephone pole. I would be to the right of that. Sure, it's F as in Frank, U, S as in Sam, A-R-O.
What was your address again, Thomas?
It's 53 Cedar Brook Road.
And what would you like to tell us?
I think I could expand maybe a little bit upon the concern around the water. Mr. Poynton asked some questions earlier, and Mr. Rose as well. So if you look where the telephone pole is, you can see the light shining there on the ground, the sunlight. That area is a depressed area within the ground. I'd almost call it like a trough, where water flows between the houses which exist on the block and rolls out to Cedar Brook Road. So my only concern is really a question, and I appreciate the information that Jeff and Jennifer presented. If an impervious driveway is going to go on top of that, how are we going to deflect the water, and where's it going to go? So maybe the board cannot answer that question tonight, because I think you had mentioned that the study would be done about that. However, I will say that the water, to Mr. Rhodes' point earlier, travels, if you will, towards the camera in that photo, really follows that line of sunlight that you see in front of the telephone pole out to White Marsh Road. Travels across the sidewalk. And it can get kind of heavy at times in downpours because it is basically a runoff. So I would just say we need to be conscious of, if we're going to put a driveway over that, where's that water going to go? And that would be my question for the experts, and where I'm leaning on you folks for your expertise.
I mean, I'll lead you.
Yeah,
What we've already
understood.
done. There's no study or anything.
Okay,
We ask if they would direct the water in such a way so as not to adversely impact any neighbors.
yep,
And they said they would.
okay,
The architect, Joyce brought up, is John Marshall. He's done work in the township forever. I know he's sensitive to those issues as well. But,
okay.
you know, he's not here to testify either, give more specific information, but is water runoff your primary concern?
It is, yes. I'm totally fine with the addition, the visuals. The setback is not impacting us because, again, we're at the rear yard, and I think as it was stated, we're under the specified requirement for the rear setback. Totally fine.
Any questions for Thomas? Jess?
Yeah.
Bill?
Yeah, so if the project for putting this driveway in, which is going right where you sort of say
Yeah,
currently functions as a depression that directs water to the back of the property towards Cedar Brook,
it directs it towards White Marsh.
towards White Marsh. okay.
Correct.
But it does so across the surface of this front yard because York seems to slope towards
I'm
White
sorry,
Marsh.
I misspoke. The trough runs towards York. My apologies. I apologize. I got my streets mixed up. Apologies.
So it runs as if it's going to run down their new proposed driveway.
Correct.
And so would you be okay if when they put that driveway in, that they do it in such a way as to induce that water to run down their driveway?
100% I would.
Okay.
Yes. Agreed, yeah, for sure. I just don't want it to come over to my property onto the other side.
Got it. Ed?
Would you accept that, can we ask this?
No, because he's a neighbor. But
No, not here.
Well,
We need to back up.
we can impose it, conditions. Nobody has to agree with them, and we'll do.
Okay.
Jessica,
No questions.
if the application is approved. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
No,
Thomas?
thank you for the attention.
You're welcome. You want to come up? No? Don't like the questioning, huh? Okay. Is there anyone else that received certified mail? Anyone that received regular mail? Any other residents of Haverford Township? So I'm reluctant to close the record at this moment because do you guys want a couple minutes to look at the exhibits to see if you have any additional questions, or do you want to just
No,
forge
but I'd
ahead?
like to ask the applicant one question.
Okay, please come back up, Jennifer and Jeffrey. But Jennifer's the primary spokesperson.
Yes, absolutely.
So you heard some of the conversations about your immediate neighbors. And it looks like, other than that, maybe that little depression area, that water's generally not running towards Ms. Raimondo's house. So we wouldn't want to induce it to do so.
That's correct.
And it might require that the driveway not slope towards Mr. Fisaro's house,
correct.
right? And if we were to condition an approval on that basis that your landscaper, driveway installer, whatever, was going to
ensure that water slopes towards the center of your property or towards York Road along your driveway and not beyond your driveway. You would be okay with that?
Totally fair, yeah,
Yeah,
we
and
totally agree.
Because we're doing changes that hits the magic 1,000 feet of impervious change, we need a water management plan anyway as part of the process.
Yeah.
That should be part of that.
Good luck with that.
Yes.
Any other questions? Jesse? Bill?
No.
Ed?
No question.
Jessica? Okay. Is there anything else you guys would like to add before I close the record? No? Okay, with that, we'll close the record on this case, and the decision will be rendered either this evening. If we're not able to reach a decision this evening, then it would be rendered at our next regularly scheduled meetings. Can you help me out? I don't know what. May 4th. That's it.
Question about what does rendered mean? Is it put on the website or what?
No. Well, all of our actions, other than executive session with lawyers, have to be conducted in public. So if we were going to vote on this tonight, after we hear the next case, we would sit here and have public discussion if necessary. If everyone was prepared to vote, we would just do a vote this evening. A letter would go out from the township tomorrow informing you of what the decision was, and it may take 2 weeks to post this stuff on the website, so we would never make you wait that long. But unless we can't do a decision tonight, I see a lot of people here. If this case runs to 11, then we would do a decision at our next hearing. Okay? You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You guys want to take it too? Do you care? All right, we'll take a 2-minute recess. Set up. All right, we'll resume the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, April 20th, 2023. Our next case is Z23-05, DMC Elite Properties LLC, owners of 8 Campbell Avenue, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2200222400, seeks variances from the provisions of Code Section 182802D1 to allow a change in non-conforming use from a restaurant to a mixed-use building with an office/showroom with 4 apartments above. Also from Section 182208C to allow the new building to be reconstructed within the existing non-conforming footprint of the existing building, and from 182707B to allow 11 spaces, presumably that means parking spaces.
Correct.
Where 18 are required. Property is zone R6 and located in the 3rd ward. Hello, George.
Great. Good evening. Thanks, Guy. Just one quick comment. I think the township paperwork shows DMC Elite Properties. It's actually DMG. So that's just a minor type change. But essentially, what we're trying to do here is
George, does Arlene have your card?
Yes, she does.
Okay.
Essentially, what we're trying to do here is change the old Lamplighter Tavern into what the new township plan calls a residential neighborhood commercial / residential zoning. The bottom view here on the screen shows the front view of what the Lamplighter will now look at as you're driving up Darby, approaching Wawa. So it'll have, that will be the front view you see
So
driving up
why
Darby
don't you
Road.
identify
Sure.
your exhibits for the record?
This is actually, I did not mark this as an exhibit since it's an attachment. I can mark it though if you would like.
Do you have hard copies by any chance?
I do. Well, I have one. I thought they were all in the packages. I
It should be in your
apologize.
packet.
You have it? Yeah.
So that, it's actually the third page of the attachment.
But it's okay. All right.
Yeah.
So how would you like that to be marked?
We can mark that, let's see, we have A1, 2, 3 already, so let's mark this A4. We'll go backwards tonight.
Of A4, and how would
Is
you
the
describe
attachment.
that?
I would just say it's the attachment to the zoning application of 1, 2, I think 5 pages long.
So you want to mark the whole zoning application?
Sure, or we can mark just the attachment,
Okay. Okay,
which is 5 pages long.
all right. Go ahead, George.
So really what we're trying to do, and I'm just going to give a quick overview because there are probably a lot of details involved, but we're essentially keeping the, Dan Greenspun, who owns the property, and also has a construction company here in town, Penn Construction, has bought the property and intends to make the ground floor his office and showroom for his construction business, and then have the second floor contain 3 residential apartments, and the third floor, 1 additional residential apartment. And essentially what we believe we're doing is trying to make it fit into what the draft comprehensive plan calls a neighborhood/residential zoning. The property falls, as most of you know, right within a commercial type district. If you turn to page 4 of attachment A4, it shows, and I can scroll down to that here. The 2 maps there show the actual zoning. The one on the left-hand side is the current zoning, which shows it as R9, just adjacent to the property, which is, I believe, the big 5 or 6 story apartment building there behind Wawa. And the next drawing, the figure 2 on the right-hand side, is essentially, I believe, the township's impression of what usage that area has. And as you'll note on there, it is noted as that property is actually a commercial use, even though it's zoned R6. So what we're trying to do is keep the footprint the same as it was on the lamplighter, raise it up to a full 3-story space, and convert the bottom floor into office and showroom, and the above two stories would be residential apartments. I can go into a lot more details at this point, but I just wanted to give an overview and then maybe introduce Dan, who owns the property and will be, also owns the company that will be in there and will also be living there, so he's got some interests. And then Tom Wiedenman, who actually designed the new proposed design. Unless you have some specific questions up front that I can address.
Nope, your case.
Okay,
You want to call him?
sure. Dan, why don't you come on up, they'll swear you in and I'll...
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record?
Dan or Daniel Greenspun, 24. Daniel Greenspun, Green and then S-P-U-N. 24 East Eagle Road, Havertown.
And you're one of the principals of TMG Properties LLC?
Correct. Sole owner, yep.
Yeah. And then just give them a little bit of a background of what your construction business is, how long you've been in the township, that sort of thing.
Sure. So I was raised in the township, went to school all through here, graduated from Haverford High, even coached lacrosse at the high school for a long time afterwards. Started a construction company about 8 years ago. We do large residential remodels, kitchens, baths, additions, whole houses. Also invested in real estate since I was about 24 years old. So, have some experience in this area.
Just, Dan, from currently, I think you've had a couple of offices and buildings for your company in the township. Just give the board an idea of what they were and how you operated them.
Yep, so we started we rented at 614 Darby Road, right down from the stadium. Little 450 square foot office that we quickly outgrew. Around COVID, 24 East Eagle, I noticed became vacant. Put a call into real estate agent, ended up acquiring that property. We moved into there with our offices, very small kitchen and bath showroom, and again we've outgrown that pretty rapidly. As we knew that we were outgrowing that place, I had an eye out. I had looked at the lamplighter when it was previously listed on the MLS. Didn't think the numbers worked out right. I just paid attention to the property and noticed about a month later that something was happening due to some language that was in the MLS. It came back up for sale, and we made the purchase there.
Let me just turn you back to your current property at 24 East Eagle. That's one you own, and that's a showroom on the bottom floor and an
Yep.
apartment upstairs.
So showroom on the bottom floor. It's about 950 square feet. There's three of us in that office, and there's 2 or 3 little kitchen units to see. One apartment upstairs that I currently live in.
As far as purchasing property, when did that actually occur? Ballpark.
Of the lamplighter?
Yeah.
May 26, 2022.
And what are you, I guess, why'd you jump in and buy the old lamplighter, which has a flavorful history for the board here, I think, also?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're all from Haverford Town, I think. We all know the building. It's right in the center of town. It's completely run down. You know, it had its day. I think we probably all have been there and had a beer once or twice. But for whatever reason, its day has come and gone. And I just recognize it as kind of the center of the Oakmont district, at least, very visible from the street. It's just a great property that I see in the township. Potentially, anyway.
Real quick, and as far as getting Tom Whedon involved, why did you work with him to do your design?
Sure. Tom's also in Oakmont. His office is directly across the street from our kitchen and bath showroom. We do a bunch of work with Tom for additions and renovations. So I thought he's the perfect guy to help this move along. Designing a building that looks great, will definitely be new, but also fits in with the look and the feel of the Oakmont area.
As far as the use, if the proposed use gets approved, what would who would the tenant be, and how would that operate as a functioning building when it's finished?
Sure. So it would all be tenant occupied, I guess, except for the third floor. Penn Construction Design, my construction company, would occupy the first floor. There'd be 3 rental units on the second floor, 2 1-bedrooms, 1 2-bedroom, and I personally would occupy the third floor unit.
Just give the board an overview of the current status of the building.
Current status, so when we bought it, it was obviously a bit of a mess. It was just there was a bunch of trash in there. We felt it was a bit of a fire hazard. Came to the township, asked if we can, what level of demolition can we do, at least clean it out. We were told that we could do interior demolition, no structural, and leave everything else alone. So the current status of the building is that the interior is demoed, no structure has been touched, nothing on the exterior has been touched, so it's vacant. Water and gas is turned off. There's 3 electrical lines that were ran new, just so we could see for lighting. Everything else was cut to try and make it as safe as possible.
As far as we're presenting the board with some plans here, but there are additional steps you need to take to go if this is approved to get done. What additional steps would you need before you actually start construction?
Yep, so we would need engineering done, both mechanical and building engineering to be done. So plumbing, electrical, HVAC, fire suppression, and building. Once all that is done, we would apply for a permit with the township for building.
And I guess as far as the fire suppression, is it currently sprinklered, or what's the status of that?
No, there's no fire suppression in there at all at this point.
Okay, and you'd plan to upgrade all that to the current requirements?
Correct, yes.
Okay. I think that's really it, unless you have any specific. I'll jump to Tom a little bit and have him describe to y'all why he designed it the way he did, and then if you have any more questions for Dan, we can bring him back up here.
Okay,
Or would you prefer to ask questions now?
yeah, that's fine. You put your keep on, I just hold your questions forward.
No problem.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Your full name and the capacity in which you appear this evening for the board, please.
Thomas Wiedemann, Wiedemann, an architect.
Thanks, Tom. Just if you could give the board an overview, and I can share
Start with that.
Just if you could give the board an idea of how you came up with the drawing and how you and Dan worked together to come up with this design.
Okay. Me and Dan had several discussions about what he wanted to see there. You know, he felt that it was a prominent site and it's been run down for so long that he really wanted to try something modern, that a little more contemporary, and something that really showed off his craftsmanship, you know, masonry, and we want to get some high-end metal paneling on it, and even a little bit of decorative ironwork. And he really wanted this to be a showcase for his construction, because it's going to be a showroom and his construction offices on the first floor. And he's going to be living there. He's going to have the whole third floor. So he wanted, you know, initially I was thinking you could have quite a few more apartments there if you're going to do this, but he wanted to keep everything very high end. You know, these one-bedroom apartments are like 950 square feet, which I'm used to doing 2 bedrooms, you know, luxury 2 bedrooms with that size square footage. He also wanted it fully accessible. We're putting a new ramp in on the Campbell side, and then it's going to have an elevator that serves all the floors.
Let me just, and we've marked 2 exhibits that Tom actually designed as A1 and A2, which are actually the drawings you have in front of you. Marked Z2 would be A2, and
Wait, say that again. So
Z2.
the architect drawings,
Z2
marked,
we marked as A2. Z3 we marked as A1. Kind of went backwards. Z3 has the layout of the 3 different floors. So if let me give these to Tom.
Yeah.
what was A1?
A1 is actually the zoning Z3. Sheet Z3.
And what's A3 then?
A3 is going to be the sketch actual. I'm just marking 2 of those big.
Yeah.
I'm marking. Just directing Tom to.
Okay, so
Z3
Z3.
shows the layout of the 3 floors. What he envisioned for the 3 floors there.
Okay, we can start with the proposed first floor. On the left side there, you can see it's got a garage and some offices. Probably 4 or 5 workers there, would you imagine? Office, 4 max, because most of the guys are out in the field, of course. And then off to the right there would be a large showroom, and, you know, with the large windows out front, and a patio. And then They've got access to the basement from there and the elevator. And on the Campbell side, you've got a new accessible ramp that you have two doors there, one that goes into the showroom and another one that'll go up to the apartments, the elevator and the stairway. Up on the second floor, you've got 3 apartments. Each apartment has an outdoor balcony space. You've got 2 one-bedrooms. Can't see it from here, but I think they're approximately 950 square feet. And then a larger 2-bedroom that's over 1,000 square feet. Then up on the third floor, more or less is the penthouse. It's a very large home, really. It's close to, well, it's about 3,000 square feet, plus it has a large outdoor covered balcony area that's going to be his outdoor space. And we're not doing any kind of roof deck or anything on this.
And as far as the height of the new structure as compared to the existing structure, can you give the board an overview of what that is and
Yeah, the existing structure to the ridge was about 33 feet, I think 2 inches, and we'll be going up the fully allowed 35 feet.
And it'll actually be, as opposed to the peaked roof on the prior design, it would be essentially a flat roof?
It's a flat roof, yeah.
Okay. But as far as the footprint and things like that, there are no real changes to the existing structure and footprint?
No, we've kept the same footprint.
Okay. I think that's it, unless you have any other design, or if you all have questions for Tom from an architectural standpoint at this point. Do you want to do that?
Yes. Jessica?
So you testified that the apartments are all generously sized. The third floor apartment is 3,000 square feet. There's a lot of relief being asked for with the general building size itself. Was any exploration done as to whether this is in fact the minimum size required for this project?
The minimum size apartments, or?
The minimum size building?
Yeah, we did look into that a little bit at first, definitely, but he wanted to keep the same footprint and just go up, and, you know, that makes sense. It's such a big site.
So when you say you're keeping the same footprint, are you reusing any of the existing foundations, basement, or is it all being rebuilt?
It's probably, they're going to try to use some of the foundation. It's going to have to be reinforced. Most likely, what we're working with right now is the same first floor level. On the right side, it's slightly raised, and the left side there is all slab on grade currently.
I have questions about this application as it relates to the comprehensive plan. I don't know if I should ask you or you.
You can ask me later, that'd be
Okay,
fine.
all right.
Unless Tom wants to take a shot on it.
I don't have any other questions for Tom right now.
Ed?
Yeah, the question I have, it says on one of the exhibits, it talks about having multiple variances. Do you have a list of all the variances that were granted for this property?
Previously?
Yeah.
No, we do not.
How do we know that any variances were ever granted?
There's boxes and boxes of, we went through them before, and there are a lot of things.
There's a lot of legal history, but I won't say that there were any variances necessarily granted. They're mostly to do with the fire escape, as the previous owner called it, that he was using for outdoor dining. And that went through courts for years and years and years.
But the application was denied by this board.
But the application was.
But he wanted to do dining on the upstairs outdoor deck, and he did it with a permit.
Correct.
Came to the board, we denied that application.
Correct.
I
This
don't,
board
I don't
did not-
recall any variances being granted to him, but
Correct. This board did not grant any variances for that property.
I may have stated that incorrectly, but the structure was there, and we're basically not changing it.
It's an important distinction because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that if you are a non-conforming lot or use, that when you demolish more than 50% of the building, you no longer have that condition available to you.
I don't think we envision demolishing 50% of the building.
Heard the whole building's being demolished.
No. Not-
We're not seeking to do a restaurant here.
No, we're essentially changing
Trying to
the
get a-
use, and right now, the structure needs to be inspected by a mechanical engineer to determine what is structurally sound. The current plans are to rebuild and use the existing structure and foundation.
We're not doing that, though. That's what I heard testimony for. So are you going to change it that the existing structure is going to be rebuilt? I don't see how.
No, the new building, it'll be a new building. We're here for a variance to do a new building here on the foot,
Well,
on the
let's
foot.
distinguish.
the
So,
footprint.
when you say new building, that means you're tearing the whole thing down. You're not going to tear the whole structure down, is my understanding.
If he has to keep 50%, then, that might change something, but that wasn't the plan.
Okay, that's,
you want to take a minute?
I do.
Okay. 5-minute recess. Off the record, Jeff, please.
We're good, Mom.
All right. We'll resume Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, April 20th, 2023. Go ahead, Drew.
Thanks. Tom, before we went off the record, I got a little confused there. Let me just have you explain to the board what you understand the process for the construction is going to be.
Yeah, so it does look like Dan plans to keep at least 50%. Currently, the first floor is about 3,600 square feet. We'll be keeping the entire first floor, all the walls, and part of the second floor, the back wall of the main building. And so it'll be over 50%.
When you say you're keeping all the walls on the first floor, do you mean the interior walls or the exterior walls?
No, exterior walls and the floor system.
Okay, thank you.
Are you done with the,
Yeah, I was just cleaning up that one thing I think
Ed?
you guys
So it's going to be
requested.
over 50%. Right.
That we keep, yes.
You're going to keep over 50% now? Do these plans don't reflect that, though?
No, they do. We're keeping
Explain how they do.
the first
I'm
floor.
looking at them, and I don't see anything that shows anything about 50%, so the plans that we have on thing take.
Well, the first
area
floor,
time.
the walls are still the same. The
Around
whole left
part.
side, that's all CMU, that's all staying. The walls are in the same spot.
So that your testimony that you said that the foundation was so bad that you might have to reinforce it and stuff was not a true statement before?
It can be reinforced, but it'll be the same foundation. We're going up, full 3 floors. It's going to need something.
okay.
Yeah, the issue is the issue of, we had testimony about the comprehensive plan. And has that comprehensive plan been approved in Haverford Township?
No, it's
So it's not codified, so we don't have anything in the zoning code now. Currently, it requires us to implement that zoning plan.
correct.
That's all I have.
Bill?
I think I heard just before the last break that, well, you may have said, and if I'm wrong, correct me, that part of the current building is above a basement, part of it on slab or on grade.
Slab on grade, yep.
So, looking at, I think this is A4 up on the screen.
If we got the, all right.
Okay.
Well, you can see this whole area here, that's all block and slab on grade.
Well, let's look at the picture of the new building down below. So, looking at this picture at the bottom of page A4, the basement is under, from the midpoint to the right edge?
Yeah, this is the basement here.
And,
This is slab on grade. We're keeping that same line here.
and then you
That's
have,
where the entry is.
I'm sorry, and you have a garage door there?
Yep.
And what's in, it's a one-car garage? How deep is that garage? What does it do?
I believe it's gonna be storage. Will you put a truck in there, you think? Or,
Is that a business-owned vehicle or a personal-owned vehicle?
Owned by the business.
So it's a commercial vehicle that you'd be parking there?
We'll bring him back up there. You would ask them both at the same time.
Okay, we'll come back. So, it looks like, I guess it's on A3, that, is there a garage door there now?
no, there's large metal doors, I believe.
So you'd be
like a
putting,
two
change
sets.
that wall out to,
Yeah, we'd
making it
be
for a
adding
garage door.
a bigger opening in the door, in the wall.
so that's at least one ground floor wall you'd change.
Well, it's still the same wall, it's just getting a new opening.
Different opening, reinforced. On page A, sorry, I gotta switch pages here. I guess it's A3. Which one of these shows the overview of the property? I guess it's, looking for where your parking is indicated. I don't know if you've submitted an exhibit that shows any parking yet?
We have not submitted an exhibit, but we have the count.
Well, I need more than the count.
Well, there's photos for actual parking spots. I don't know if they are included, but there are actually, I think 11 parking spots currently in place in front of the building. And I apologize if I did not include that. I thought that was on one of the diagrams.
Do you, George, want to submit an exhibit with that?
I will do that, yes. I will get you something. I do not have.
Okay.
It's on that. I apologize.
Well-
It's on A3.
So parking's a pretty big issue here, right? So it's a variance you're asking for?
No, there's plenty of public parking around. It requires.
No.
There are lots of public parking
I
spots.
asked you a question.
Yes.
On the lot,
On the lot, there are 11 spots, plus one in the garage probably, so there are 12.
and have you or Schweideman looked at you apparently looked at the comprehensive plan that's in, at least in concept form right now.
Right.
And I applaud you for doing it. But what does it call for on-street parking, location-wise in the lot? This area.
It suggests for the Eagle Road corridor for the parking to be in the rear of the building.
Right, so you are not following the parking guidelines?
The lots on Eagle Road are much different than this lot.
Understood, but,
And it's physically impossible. The lots on Eagle Road are deeper and narrower. This is a wider and thinner
okay.
lot. I understand the concern, and we believe it's been in existence with all the parking in front as a bar restaurant, which needs tons more parking than we're proposing. We're actually going to be cutting down on the amount of vehicles that would be parking there if the lamplighter was running. The parking requirements for a bar restaurant are way exceed our proposed use here.
So are you suggesting that you're relying on existing variance for parking that the lamp?
No, I'm just being practical. There's two off-street public parking lots within walking distance of the building, which can, as the zoning requirements.
Does the applicant
that
have a
allow.
legal entitlement to use any of those parking spots?
No, but that's not a requirement. The requirement is available off-street parking, not legal entitlement to use them, and the public parking fills that need. Otherwise, all the parking lots in the township that are public, why are they there?
Have you been aware of some prior cases in the Oakmont area
I've
involving
handled them
restaurants?
myself, yes.
Okay, and in those cases, did we not, in fact, have leases and legal entitlements for parking?
Yes.
Yes, we did, okay. So what's the basement to be used for?
Storage and work supplies.
And was there ever any design thought about underground parking?
No,
And why?
it'd be very tough to do. I mean, it'd be a whole new building if that's the route we went, and we probably would do something like that, but it's extremely expensive
So if
too.
you were doing a new building and you came before this board asking for variances to allow you to do a new building, which you're not asking for now.
Right.
But if you were, underground parking could be part of that solution?
It could.
No other questions?
Jesse?
Now, can I ask any question, or am I only asking questions to Mr. Weidman?
Well, we're gonna bring Daniel back up.
Okay, I'll try to limit it, and then I'll come back to the owner. And if you can't answer, then just say that, and we'll bring Dan back up. Going through my questions here. Well, I'll come back on that one. The actual business use and all that, we should ask Dan.
Yes.
Okay. The garage that we just talked about, it's actually labeled as, I believe, storage on the first floor plan labels it as storage, but is the testimony that will be a garage for parking?
Yes, the owner plans to use that as a garage.
Okay. And that would not then be used for off-street loading per section 182-708?
I believe he could. I mean, if he's loading up tools and stuff, wouldn't that count?
Okay.
Got his storage right there.
There was mention, I think, in the application about buffers, and I think it noted that they were cost prohibitive, but I would contend that on a project of this magnitude, that would be of, minimal consequence. Has buffering of the site to the adjacent neighbors been considered? Trees, plantings?
Well, the back, there's, I believe it's like 7'6", so there is a fence there now, so. We've designed the back wall. I mean, we're gonna keep as few windows in that as possible, and what there is will just be at, eye height, really.
I was referring to landscape buffering, but I did want to ask you about the facade designs. So staying on that, so the facade that faces the neighbors on Campbell, your testimony is that it's smaller windows that are up higher so that there's less visibility, is it?
No, not on Campbell's side. That was, with the adjacent neighbor behind them.
I think that would be the Campbell side. Campbell's the.
Well,
No,
Campbell's
not
facing
Campbell,
the
the
other
street with
bar.
the circle. Is that Campbell?
Now, I'll show you the, I have it on this. Campbell's facing towards Crossbar and the dry cleaner,
Well, that's Darby.
and that's,
What you list as the back elevation, I think that's the wall that faces the neighbor on Campbell.
correct.
And that one has the smaller windows, and that's because that's mostly a corridor.
Yep,
What you label as on Exhibit A2, which is sheet Z2, elevation, proposed left elevation, shows windows into what was listed as storage. So I had a question on that, but if it's a garage, I guess I have less concern if it's used as a garage, but I would have some concern of windows into a storage unit and whether you would see, storage in the windows. So if that could be cleared up, what the actual use of that space would be helpful. But it sounds like there's some discussion on that. Could you, you touched on the design of looking to do a more contemporary design. Could you just go further into describing how you envision this being kind of a transition between the neighborhood and the more commercial street on Darby? What you were hoping to achieve with the massing and on the elevations?
Well, actually, yeah, we are trying to make this kind of a showpiece of a building. It's, you got a very commercial strip where the crossbar and the, I guess it's a laundromat right there. Probably 1940s, 1920s, two-story strip. And then on the other side, you've got, what, 5, 6-story residential. And so, yeah, it's a transition between those two, but it's also bringing things into, this century a little bit.
It looks like there's a lot of a combination of brick and siding.
Yeah, we're looking to use like the pre-finished aluminum siding, the metal paneling systems.
I have other questions now, but I will have other questions for the applicant.
I have a question. So the parking that you're proposing to put in the front of the street, in front of the building, I'm sorry, the Campbell elevation, you're not putting any handicapped entrance on the front of the building, is that right? Where the parking is?
They'll enter from the parking and they'll go right up on the Campbell side.
So my question was whether the front elevation of the building would allow, is that the main entrance?
No, there's two main entrances really. It's the Campbell side and the Darby side.
Okay, so what's the entrance on the Darby side access to?
The showroom, they both go right to the showroom.
And then the tenants upstairs would go in that door to an elevator? Is the elevator in the middle of the building or?
The tenants would go through the Campbell side.
Campbell. So a handicapped customer would be parking in front of the building and have to walk to the side to get in the handicap.
Well, the
access.
handicap spots would be right in front of that ramp.
Okay, that's, again, we don't have any depictions of it, so we don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many handicap spots would you be proposing?
Probably just one.
Just one. So you've got, the owner's got his own parking spot in the garage. You'd have a handicap spot over on the Campbell side of the front elevation. And then how many parking spots? You'd have 10 more?
Yeah, there should be enough for 10, plus the handicap.
Yeah, for now.
Jessica, do you have any other questions?
Not for Tom.
Ed?
I do have another question. The issue of this building, the square footage of usable space in the existing building, is the new building going to have increase in the existing space, usable space?
Yep.
Did you read the ordinance on non-conforming expansion and how much you're allowed to expand?
It's 10%. That's what it is in the city.
No,
It's,
I don't believe that's the answer, but the amount of square footage, so you didn't look at the ordinance to find out whether or not a non-conforming use can, even though if you left 50% intact, that you can expand it the way you want to do here, according to the ordinance.
there's possibility we're going to need a variance for that.
Excuse me?
We probably will need a variance for that.
Okay, but that's not being requested here. Okay, I have no other questions.
Just to clarify, I think we're requesting that in item number 2, where it says the project will be non-conforming for all the area and bulk requirements in the application.
Did you literally mean that all area and bulk requirements you're asking for variances from?
Well,
I mean, how is that effective public notice that people would know what you need?
we're essentially expanding the building. I'm trying to simplify this. I apologize. I mean, if I listed every one, it would be overwhelming. All we're doing is moving the walls up 3 stories from the existing first floor walls. That's essentially the only thing we're doing. So whatever is now on the second floor would not be an expansion of the bulk use. It would really be only on the 3rd floor because we're squaring off the whole outside of the building. Is that,
Even when a project requires multiple variances, we list them out so the public who sees the advertisement can understand what the scope of the nonconformities would likely be, to say, we want relief from all applicable area and bulk requirements. I'm not sure that
okay,
that functions properly, but
all right.
This isn't a Balkan area, this is a non-conforming.
it's use and, right, it's use in area bulk also.
It's different, yes. But really, all we're trying to do is move the existing footprint up 3 stories high, put a flat roof on. We believe a lot of the structure may need to be reinforced, but, you know, that's why we're going to have the mechanical guys come out. If we need to do more, we'll come back to you.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see an exhaustive list submitted of all the variances that you think you're gonna need.
Okay.
I think we also need a floor plan showing clearly all the existing walls that are to remain, which walls are being demolished, so that we
Okay.
can accurately see
Okay.
how much of the building is being
That'll
kept.
have to be done after the mechanical guys look at
And
it. We can,
I
okay,
think that we're gonna need the calculations on the existing square footage of the first floor existing, second floor existing, so we can then
The
calculate.
differences?
Yep,
okay,
and I'd like to see a parking plan too.
okay.
What was that last one? Not the last one, the parking plan, I
Yeah, the
guess.
square footage of the first and second floor existing, so we can benchmark that against the resulting square footage to figure out how the nonconformity is being enlarged.
Okay.
Daniel, want to come back up?
Before, Dan, I just have another question for George.
Tom? Oh, for George? You can come up, Dan. Go ahead, Jessica.
So part of your argument is that the comprehensive plan identifies the lot as neighborhood commercial in its existing use, but I would ask that you review the draft comprehensive plan, which actually does not change the zoning of that lot.
I'm not, I may have misspoken, I apologize. The figure I showed is essentially something in the comprehensive plan as how the township views the use.
Well,
as
it's
opposed to
the
zoning.
existing use, but
Well, it's not a zoning clarification, it's just how the property is actually
is
used.
currently used, correct? But the comprehensive plan does in fact keep that lot as medium residential.
Correct.
But it's not adopted, so.
It's not adopted, no.
Any reference to it, for me personally, I don't know, the other board members feel is meaningless, but
I just wanted to note that it is not proposed.
conceptually, the transition
this
from
time.
commercial to residential is important to us.
Yep.
Not only because it might be in the comprehensive plan.
I understand.
Okay, Jesse, any questions for Dan?
Yes. Go back to the beginning. So you testified that you got permission to do some interior demolition, and then you stopped when you were completed with the interior demolition?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the current condition of the site, generally? On the outside, from the street view, what are people seeing as they go by?
So, when we bought it, there was a white fence around the left-hand side of it. That was intact for a little bit. I think there was some vandalism over some time. It got kicked in, all those types of things, so that was removed. The signage was removed, and the doors all the way to the right, like that curved section, there had been a leak for probably a very long time that got exposed, so those doors are inoperable at the moment. They're basically, one has plywood on it, the other one is screwed shut from the inside.
Are you using the site for anything now?
We park some trucks there, and we have some materials on that left-hand side.
Are they stored outside?
Outside?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Do you plan to store your commercial vehicles on the site in some of those parking spaces?
I would say that there probably be one or two. Most of our guys take their vans home.
Let's see. Well, staying on that, there was, I think in the packet that we got, it talked about you were proposing 2 spaces per apartment, which is 8 spaces. 1 space for every 200 square feet of retail, which got to 8. And then 1 space per 2 employees. But if I'm not mistaken, I thought I heard earlier that there might be 4 employees.
Currently, there's 3 employees that includes myself, that work in the office.
Okay, so is it your contention that because you will also, as you testified, be occupying the 3rd floor apartment, that 2 of those spaces would be your own personal spaces?
Correct, which I only need 1.
Okay, and you also said earlier you might use the garage?
Yes.
Or what's listed as storage, but you may also use that as a garage?
That area is very long and deep, so my truck can basically go in that garage, and there's still plenty of room in the back of it for storage.
Understood. Okay, so it'll be a kind of a garage/storage space. Okay. And then back to the apartments, you've testified that you'll plan to occupy the penthouse, the 3rd floor apartment. It is rather large, so our concern would be in the future, if you were to move somewhere else, who would occupy such a large apartment? Would it be, would you accept a condition that it not be subdivided further into smaller apartments?
That would be fine with me. I mean, I have no intention of leaving it after all of this, so.
If this was approved and that condition imposed, that goes with the property. So you can't sell it, try to advertise it, say this could be 3 apartments. I mean, if it's approved, that condition is imposed, it's 1 apartment.
Sure.
So.
Because our concerns.
That's the answer.
Right, and of course it goes to the parking calculations that we just went through, and it also brings up some concerns that we would have on large units like that could end up becoming used for student housing, et cetera. And there are items in our code that prohibit so many unrelated people, and I'll butcher it if I try to come up with it, but it is in the code, and we would want to make sure that we're not in violation of that. Down to the business use, could you explain how your showroom operates? Is it appointment only, or is it open to the public?
It is open to the public, however, we don't get much traffic of people just walking in. Most of it is by appointment, and most of it is our direct clients that we're doing the renovations for.
Okay. And again, that goes towards how much parking we think, we could reasonably expect you to use. So your testimony is that it's mostly by appointment, very few walk-ins?
Correct.
So you would have a predictable number of parking space, or you would be able to plan for a predicted number of visitors for your parking?
Yes, the way the business operates today, I mean, that's how it works. It works for us, and that's what we would continue to do.
Okay. That is all my questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Dan, so I do want to, from the design aesthetic, I think it's a great idea. I appreciate that you thought about the comprehensive plan to at least to some extent. The idea that you're going to try to work with the existing building in order, I question whether that's the right move for this building, right? And rather than a total tear down. We know that parking in this area is a huge problem. It's not just your problem. I'm not suggesting that.
I understand.
Yeah. But, there are plenty of relatively small apartment buildings in the area, not just in Haverford, certainly in Lower Marion too, where their parking is underground. There's above ground parking and there's below ground parking. And it, you know, I understand there's added cost to it, but I really think you should give it a hard look. You know, it's not lost on me, you've got a garage for yourself and no one else. And I would also suggest that we heard in the case prior to this, a couple, both of whom are working from home now. And in the materials that were submitted, I think it's part of the A1, or A4, I'm sorry, there's a discussion that the residential parking needs and the commercial parking needs are really compatible because the residents would be living at, parking there at night and your customers would be parking there in the day. But, you know, that's not a slam dunk, all right? And we see increasingly people who are working from home, or maybe, you know, in your one bedroom or your two bedroom, maybe one person's working from home. They're not going to give up that parking spot that they pulled into at 6 o'clock the night before. They're working from home. The car is sitting there. Now your customers have to park somewhere else on a school day, whatever. It's tight. That whole area is tight, and it's tight across the other side of the Y of the road split. Yeah. You know, I'm not really comfortable with the idea of a significant variance in parking here, and I wouldn't be for anyone. So it's not just this project. As I said, I like a lot of things about your project. I would have preferred to see the parking in the back just to get it out. And I would prefer to see no need for parking variance because you've got spots underneath for the residents. So you know, that really wasn't a question. I apologize, but there are a lot of nice things about this project, but this is a big one, parking. And I don't know if you've given more thought to parking, but if you disagree with anything I said, feel free to respond.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. In a lot of aspects, I agree with you. The cost to do underground parking, I don't think there's any way for this building as drawn will support the cost of doing that. You know, I do understand the tightness of Oakmont. Like I do live there. I have my own parking pass in the Oakmont lot that I pay for ease of parking. So I do understand that. The 8 Campbell, I see that it does have, you know, obviously we're looking for a variance of more parking spots, but it does have more parking than most of the businesses in the Oakmont district. So like where we're currently located, you know, there's technically a spot out back, I guess. I mean, my truck can't fit there. So I basically give it to the neighbors. I let them park there. They park there. So I think it's an issue. It's a township issue. I fully understand, and I'd like to work to make it work for everybody. But I do think it's a township issue in that whole area.
And we're not opposed to going out and trying to make a deal like Grace Chapel or somebody to use some of their spots like some of the other
You'll have to get
businesses
in line
have.
because Great
I know.
Chapel has
I
seemingly
understand.
leased out their parking spots to a lot of other people. And at some point, those leases aren't going to count anymore because they've overleased or they've leased the same spots multiple times.
Okay. Well, we will look for other spots. I understand the concerns. We all know there's a problem in that area.
The other thing that I would say is like, there's also very little grass on this property. And we don't want to, you know, it's either get rid of the grass and have more parking, which I don't think anybody would be in favor of. So, you know, I think it's a delicate balance, right?
It is, you know, I was hoping that if the parking were in the back, you might at least have some grass buffer in the front along the sidewalk or between the sidewalk and the road to make it more pedestrian friendly, the way some of the Eagle Road corridor design standards had been previously.
Sure.
We'll take a look at that.
Thank you.
That it, Bill? Yeah. Jessica?
guess I would just ask that as you're relooking at the design of the building to really look at the size and confirm that it is the minimum required, because you are extending the second and the third floor into the required setbacks for that property in a way that the existing building, while it encroaches on the first floor, it does not encroach as much on the second and the third floor. So to look at minimizing those encroachments so they do comply with the base zoning district and see if that works for the design.
Ed?
No other questions.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Yep. Oh, Jesse? Yeah, Jesse has another.
When you guys do develop the parking plan as well, I would just also reiterate that it's not just showing 11 lines on the page that fit. They also we need the maneuverability, any curb cuts and access needs to be looked at. So often when we ask for parking plans, we just get back, oh, we can fit 11 cars, but let's actually, I would urge you to have a civil engineer who's, versed in parking requirements this is a state highway, right, Darby Road, so they would need to look at PennDOT standards and make sure that any curb cuts that are required and any maneuverability into the parking lot and ingress and egress is reviewed, and that all that works, so that even if you're asking for 11 when you're supposed to have 18, that even the 11 work. So,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks.
That it? Anything else, Billy?
No, thank you.
All right. So, you guys have some homework to do. But there are residents that came out for the hearing. So I'm inclined to hear from the residents. And you would all have an opportunity to speak at the hearing, the next hearing on this subject, this case. So I would ask then that you not be repetitive, but we're going to hear from you tonight. So with that, I'll ask if there's anyone that received certified mail. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record?
It's Kim Kahomey, Kohalmi, and I live at 10 Campbell. So I am the house directly beside the 8 Campbell. This is my house here.
Okay. What would you like to tell us?
What's that?
What would you like to tell us?
I have quite a bit. So my main concern is, you say that it's going to be the same footprint, but it's not going to be the same footprint from my perspective. And that's why I have the picture here. So you can see when you're...
Do you want to mark that as an exhibit?
No, I don't need to unless you guys feel that it needs to be.
Well, I think it might create a more complete record. Do you have another copy of it by any chance?
It's all on my phone. These are just pictures I printed out on my computer. So if you want it to be an exhibit, I can.
Yeah, I think we should mark it because you're going to refer to it and describe it. So why don't we make it K1?
K1,
So
okay.
Would you please, we can't speak when Arlene's marking it, but please give it to Arlene. She'll put a sticker on it. I need to make sure I get it before you leave though.
You can have it, yeah. I have plenty more.
So that's a photograph, one page. Your house, as we look at the photo, is on the right.
This is my driveway. This is my fence. These are, my
The
hedges.
structure on the left is,
8 Campbell.
Okay.
The lamplighter. So from my perspective, both in my yard, in the front and the back, I'm next to a small Victorian home. The single-story additions that the previous owner had put, on the slabs or whatever, you don't really see because I have the fence and the shrubbery. So I can be out in my backyard and I'm seeing sunlight, I'm seeing a view, all of that. I don't see the single-story additions. The home is very close to mine. It's built 5 feet, not 6.5, 5 feet
you
off my
just
property.
address the not the.
Oh, okay. 5 feet off my property and 15 feet away from my home. It's 5 feet away from my garage. But The two-story portion of the home extends the same footprint as my home. So my backyard is still open. If this is built the way they're proposing, it's gonna, the three-story, 40-foot wall is gonna come more into my front yard, and it's gonna extend the whole length of my backyard. So 40 feet high, 5 feet off my property. I love the garden. The view is gonna be horrible. Currently, I have one small bathroom window that faces onto my property. With the new proposal, there are 20 windows that are gonna be facing all along my backyard. So this is another, well, this one I don't really need to show, but this one is just to show that when I put this fence up, I had a surveyor come. This fence is several inches into my property. And you can see here that the current structure into my property is about 5 feet. So we're looking at a 40-foot wall, 5 feet off my property, 15 feet away from my home. And this is just to
Do you
show,
want to give us that photo as well?
if you would like to have it.
Yeah, we'll mark it K2, please, Arlene. You can't talk with
Yeah, we get, well, gotta wait.
All right.
So can I just ask for one clarification about what you just said? So in that picture that's K2 now, the vinyl fence that I see there, that's your fence? Okay.
And it's several inches into my property.
Right, so ideally, the fence would have been on the property line. That's what the township prefers.
Okay.
But, because you created no man's land on the other side of it. But what you're saying is your fence is, how many inches inside the property line do you think it is? About 6 inches, 12
There
inches?
was originally already a wooden fence there, and the basement of the old lamplighter took on so much water, and it was crumbling and a mess, that Mr. Quinn used to pump the water constantly out of that basement. And it degraded the fence, and it would come down my driveway. So I have a lot of questions about the foundation as well. But, so when we put the new fence up, we just put it where the old one was.
Okay, I got it. And so that fence, though, is inside your property line, but you don't maybe know exactly where that property line is?
Right, I think it's at least several inches. I mean, I would think the surveyor should have be able to tell that.
It's actually the color survey.
Yeah. So the fence is depicted by the red line with the X's on Exhibit A3, which shows that closer to the Cheese Club, the fence is right on the property line, and then in the middle of the property, it deviates in and then rejoins the property line, presumably at the pin on Campbell Row Avenue. Is that fair? But generally, the distance from your house to that's your house to the fence, or that's the fence to the applicant's building?
This is 8 Campbell, this is the fence.
Okay.
There is, my home is 10 feet from this fence.
Okay.
So
thank you.
15 feet from this structure.
I got it. Okay.
So I have some notes here just because I don't want to miss anything. So my main concern is just the obstruction. Like I said, I love my home, I love my garden, and I just feel like this is just going to be this massive wall. There's going to be no privacy, 20 windows now facing into my property, where now there's only one. And like I said, the home is very close to my house, but it's the same width as my house. So my backyard, the rest of my length of my backyard, I don't see those flat one-story buildings. They're behind my fence and my shrubbery. So that was the main thing. So the other thing is, in addition to being zoned R6 commercial, I was kind of looking at some of the zones here, and one of the things that I saw was, and this is Article 7, Result 16 from the Haverford Codes, is that the distance at the closest point between any two buildings or parts of buildings or group of buildings should be at least 20 feet. But that in the case of an apartment building, the distance needs to be at least as great as the height of the taller of the two adjoining buildings and no less than 35 feet. So you're proposing an apartment building, a 40-foot apartment building, not 35 feet from my property, but about 15, and only 5 feet away from my existing garage. And in addition to the 20 windows, there's going to be an open balcony 5 feet off my property. And then the other thing is, I can't, knowing that property, and I have friends that used to work there, they said the basement always took in water, it's crumbling. The rest of the property is on flat slabs. I cannot even fathom how any of that can support 3 stories. There was constantly water in that basement. He was constantly pumping it out. And there's records of that because there was a couple times there was so much water that the cops came by and said, what's going on here? Because as you guys know, the corner of Darby and Campbell floods right there constantly. So anytime we have a heavy rain, you're going through a couple feet of water as it is. And of course, when it snows, it's a sheet of ice. That is the major corridor for a lot of the kids walking to school, both the middle school and the high school. There's a lot of foot traffic with the kids on there, and I see them all the time, having to, walk out into the middle of the street of Darby because they're trying to avoid the puddles. The water is a huge, huge issue there. So the other things, so the drawbacks for me, and the other thing was, Mr. Greenspan had said that he would probably need at least about 6 AC units, and that he would probably put those on the roof. So that would add to the height. So I would now have a minimum of 6 AC units, 15 feet from my windows. And all the noise and the problems with that. Plus the open balcony up there. And then I think my other concern is that now that this is going to be a 90,000 square foot commercial property in a residential zone, it could be sold before it's even built to any business.
Did you say 90?
Or, I'm sorry, 9,000. 9,000 square feet.
90?
To me, it's going to feel like 90.
It's like the size of the Y.
He also said that it would take almost a year to build and that he may need to be on my property to construct it.
He can say that he may need to be on your property, and if you say no, he's not on your property, but I get what you're saying.
Okay. And I work from home. I'm running meetings in my home office. So a year of all the construction noise and the air conditioners and, I'm not looking forward to any of that. The parking obviously is a very, very big issue. Some of my neighbors from Thompson Drive, and they actually petitioned for permit parking because of all the issues with the parking. They couldn't be here, but they wanted me to bring up that in the past year, they've had 5 of their vehicles on that cul-de-sac damaged with hit and runs. Just from the people looking for parking, they swing through late at night or whatever, and then they disappear.
On which street?
Thompson, it's the cul-de-sac. And they actually petitioned for permit parking because of all the issues. And Campbell is a very residential street. There's kids walking to and from school. There's the homes 2 and 3 doors up from me are $800,000 homes. Like, this is a residential street. And to put this huge commercial block building, it just, and you know, right there, it to me, it takes away from the quaint little town feel that I think most people love about Haverford Town. I know for me, at least. Trying to think. Oh, a lot of the old trees in the back there will need to be removed for this project. And I guess the other thing that I would ask is that whatever happens here, that there's some kind of barrier for my property.
Is that it, Kim?
I guess. I mean, I could go on all night, so I'm trying to, like,
We'll ask you some questions and maybe you'll think of, how long have you resided at 10 Campbell?
27 years.
Okay, so in that
Raised my kids there. I still have a couple kids at home.
so in that time, then the lamplighter was in operation?
For about the last 10 years, it really wasn't, just because he was losing his liquor license. There was all kind of legal battles and things like that. But for some of it, yes. And to be honest with you, I'm more upset about this than I was about living next to, you know, Jack Quinn. Just because, yeah, occasionally I would hear some noise on a Friday or Saturday night. But from my perspective, I'm on a residential street. And I'm next to a residential home. I'm not next to a 40-foot commercial building with 6 AC units up above it. There was 1 air conditioner unit for that whole property. I think it was only 2,000 square feet.
So, other than some of the quirks that and some of the issues that you brought up of water, you didn't have a general issue with living next door to a restaurant when it was in operation?
I think the main issue was that the neighbors with the parking. I have my own off-street parking, so that wasn't as much of a concern. There were times on a Friday or Saturday night where maybe you would hear some, foot traffic, things like that. But it wasn't on a daily basis that I had issues. I think the problem that we had with the lamplighter is just that the previous owner just took really bad care of the property. So in addition to pumping water constantly down my driveway, at one point his roof was falling apart, and literally roofing shingles with the nails still attached were like sliding down right onto my driveway. My kids are playing their scooters and things in the driveway. Our cars got damaged. And the previous owner, it was a business to him. It was a profit. He was there for profit. That's what it was for him. So he didn't really want to, he said all kind of things. Oh, well, my patrons, I can't disrupt them now, to put on a new roof. Then finally, I think the township made him. And what he did was he put a big, ugly blue tarp up for about 6 months. He did finally fix the roof, but then his gutter was hanging down and the water was just coming down anyway. It was, so it was things like that.
I get your points. My last question is, what would you, if you could see anything next door in the 8 Campbell, what would you see as the highest and best use of the property?
Green space with some little benches. I mean, that would be ideal.
Would you be okay with it if it was a house with a small corner shop or a small restaurant in the first floor?
Something small, yeah. Because I know from being in Haverford Town that once it's built, you can't take it back, right? So once you have a 9,000 square foot commercial property, it can be sold and transferred 1 million times, right? It could be anything. And like I said, I love my house. I take really good care of it. I love Haverford Town. And it's the old charm, quaintness that I think is what draws most people to Haverford Town.
No other questions. Thanks, Kim.
Jessica? Ed, any questions?
No question.
All right, thank you, Kim.
Okay.
Ashley? George, do you have any questions for Kim? Wait, Kim, wait.
Need your exhibits.
Oh, those pictures.
Oh, two things, the exhibits, and Mr. Lyman has the opportunity to ask you questions as well. So do you have any questions? Okay. Anyone else certified mail?
No certified.
Anyone that got certified? It's the order that we have to go in. So there's no one else that got certified? Any other residents? Come on up. And please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And full name and address for the record, please.
Nicole Campalone, C-A-M as in Michael, P as in Peter,
Wait,
E-L-L-O-N-E.
you're going too fast.
Oh, sorry.
Nicole,
Yes.
spell your last name again, please.
C-A-M-P-E-L-L-O-N-E. And there's no H in Nicole. And I'm at 11 Campbell. I'm a little picky with my first name, sorry.
And what would you like to tell us?
So first off, I work from home 2 days a week. Yes, I am at 11. I'm a little bit up further, not much further, but I will tell you, I have a 72-year-old mother who comes to visit, and in order for her to get parking, my boyfriend and I have to put our cars in the street so that she has a parking spot. And sometimes that's not even possible. The congestion is ridiculous. It gets worse. We have patrons from the bars and the restaurants that are too intoxicated. They take Uber, they get rides home, and their cars are sitting there for 3 days. The residents that live on Darby Road park on our street, and they have no care. They don't care where they park. Sometimes they're partially blocking driveways. The flooding is a huge issue for me because we have to turn that way. There's another big problem. Turning off of Campbell Avenue in the morning and at night, left or right onto Darby Road, is a death trap. You cannot see when people are parked along Darby Road, so you literally have to get out in the middle of the road. What they are proposing is having an entrance onto Campbell Avenue, which is going to cause nothing but accidents. I can tell you that right off the bat, because people have to back out onto Campbell Avenue. It's a hazard. And as Kim stated, kids are walking there all the time. And listen, we all know you have to be the one to look for the kids because the kids don't look for you. So all in all, I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't agree with this. I think 3 stories is completely out of the question. I think 2 stories is fine. And adding the amount of apartments, I would say he's only going to have 11 spots. He needs 18. Absolutely not. We pay our taxes. I'm not saying he doesn't, but what he's proposing just doesn't fit the residents. And I will personally get a petition to get permit parking, and that's going to cause a problem for the Township Police Department, because every time somebody's parked there that doesn't have a permit, I'll be calling. Like I said, it's not fair to us that, yes, we have driveways, but when we have guests, parties, they have to park 6 blocks up, or we have to hurry up and run out for the first open spot to put one of our vehicles so that they can park there. And that's not fair to us. So I'm not saying no completely to your project. What I'm saying is, and I do say this with the utmost respect, and I won't direct it directly, but I will say it to you, but he will hear me. You don't live on 11 Campbell. Bottom line. I don't care if you live in Haverford Town. I know parking's a problem. You don't live on 11 Campbell, and you don't know the problems that we have with parking and the speeding that goes on. I don't know what's going to be in that apartment. I don't know. He could tell us till we're blue in the face it's going to be mom and dad, right? We don't know if he's going to put college students in there, and he can't control that. You know what I mean? So, and then it's going to cause him more aggravation because the cops are going to be getting called. He's going to be living on the property. And I agree with underground parking. And I know it's going to be an expense to him, but be considerate of the residents that have been living there. And there's a lot of kids. It's just not, what they're proposing for parking is not going to be, it's not going to be fair to the neighbors on 11 Campbell. I'm sorry. I know I'm very strong and I keep repeating it, but This is an issue. And like I said, there's been many of times, there was that median, like right before Campbell in front of Lamplighter. People jump that median just to make a left-hand turn onto Campbell Avenue. And I've gotten almost sideswiped 4 times, and one of them was O'Kane Construction, because I was trying to make the left the legal way, and he decided to come flying down and turn with me. So that's a danger, and it's going to be bad. So if their plans are approved, I will be back up here and I will be petitioning for permit parking. And we'll just see where it goes. And I'll fight until we get approved. I'm in construction, so I understand a good bit of this stuff. There's a lot of things that they mentioned. Mechanical engineers don't do structural. You need to get a structural engineer to check the structural. Mechanical engineers simply work on mechanical. So 25 years in construction, I think I picked up a couple things. And RTU units, 6 of them, you need to know the weight load, and you need to have roof curbs for the water. There's a lot. So Kim, I feel bad she lives closer. Me personally, parking, congestion. It's great that he has a parking spot for himself in a garage, but I leave it at that. 11 is not enough. So I hate to say it, I'm saying it now. No, I don't agree at all.
Jessica, no question? Bill?
No questions.
Ed?
No questions.
Jessica?
Questions?
Thank you.
George?
No questions, just a clarification.
He said a ramp. Okay, but he
No,
also
no,
said
no
they were
back-
going
no
to
back and forth. So
enter.
he's clarifying a point to us, and I think what he's saying is there's a handicap walk ramp to get up to the door entrance on Campbell.
Is there going to be enough
But not a
turn
quick
time, like, for them to get in? So there's only going to be one entrance in and out off of Darby Road? That's still a like I said, it's hectic in the morning. If you do a traffic study, you will see. And at night, like with people parked on Darby Road, going to the bar for a happy hour, you're going to get hit. It's going to be bad.
Thanks, Nicole. Anyone else that received regular mail? What up?
Yeah, just regular mail.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please.
John McNicholas, 13 Campbell Avenue.
Please spell your last name, John.
McNicholas.
And you said 13?
13, yep. I'm right at the stop sign coming off Darby. I just don't
What
want
would
to
you like
repeat.
to tell us?
Don't want to repeat what the lady in front of me said. It's with me, the parking. Thompson is permit parking, so that's off limits. The Crossbar has extended their kitchen, which is fine. Hey, I thought it was great. This is where I was like, I'm going to the zone meeting. Because they put, with COVID, they put their, like a enclosed patio, that took up about 6 or 7 spots that they used to have. So now they all park on Campbell Ave. Now with the Brick and Brew, that has rooftop dining now. That's a lot more popular than the Oakmont used to be. They're all parking, a lot of them are parking on Campbell Ave. I am completely against the variance of allowing them to not have any spots that they require. I know the underground park may be expensive. I thought that was a great idea. I was like, yeah. I think it's great. Local business person. I want them, I'm not against the business. And like I said, I'm not right next to it as Kim. And all Kim's arguments were valid, points were valid. With me, it's parking. We can't, the parking just gets worse and worse. I have people block the driveways. And just what was said before, they'll go to the bars and leave their cars there for a day or two. Parking is brutal, and it's gonna get worse. And if we allow, the variance of not having every spot that is required, that's a huge problem. And I like what what one of the board members said about turning. People coming in and out, Darby Road's very busy right now. And everybody knows when you're coming up to where the Wawa is, if you're coming down Darby Road to Eagle, that light right now, you gotta wait 2 or 3 times to make a left at that light because it's getting so congested. Now you add people pulling in and out of those spots and the requirement for 7 additional, please do not allow any variances for the parking. Those variances are there for a reason. We're turning into the parking lot for this business district that was once a neighborhood. Thank you for your time. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? Jesse, Bill?
Nothing.
Ed, Jessica, George? No?
Thanks for your due diligence.
Anyone else? All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Your full name and address, please.
Deborah Gibson, 3 Campbell. So I'm directly across the street from Kim. The building has been a problem for many years. Where we live, we're the original homeowners from 1968. So I've seen everything go by there all these years. People would come out of the bar sometimes in the evening and would come up onto Darby Road, onto Campbell, not realizing that there's no ramp to go down. So that would always be a problem. People come down Darby Road and don't realize when you go past Campbell off of Darby that it's one way. So if there's going to be more cars coming down, I've seen many cars drive down Darby Road are going the wrong way. And I'd be like out there like this when I'm walking the dog. You're not allowed to go that way. And there's a lot of flooding, which everyone has spoken about. The flooding is terrible. When it rains and snows, it's like an ice slick down there. There's a little bit of a hill, and it's awful. I'd like to see something go in the building, in there too. 40 some feet is high. I agree. I want to see something go there. I'm tired of looking at this dumb monster in front of my house. But
And let me just correct, the applicant has talked about 35 feet. I realize
Well,
it's still
30
big.
yeah.
But I've heard now 40 feet mentioned several times.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure that you
35
understood
feet.
it's
I
30.
want to see something. I would like to see a business. I'd like to see something there instead of this ugly thing that's been sitting for 20 years.
Questions? Jesse? Bill?
No, thank you.
No question. Jessica?
Oh, and the parking, people park, I'll go back to the parking. People who live on Darby Road in those apartments, they park in our street. So they park at the cleaners. So there's 3 spots where the cleaners is. Years ago, nobody was allowed to park there. The cleaners all parked there. Now that sign's been removed, now everybody parks there. So the guy around on Darby Road parks there. He has 2 vehicles, always in front of my house. I can't do anything about it. When I have family and friends over, I'm stuck. I have nowhere to park. My nephew lives in our house, couldn't even pull in our driveway last week. He had to park on Benedict. Parking is a major issue.
Okay. Thanks, Deborah.
Thank you.
Questions? George? Deborah?
Why do the people in the apartment park on the street?
There's no place for them to park.
Yeah, no place for
There's no place for those people. So next to the crossbar, there's like 3, it's like a little building, and there's apartments up top. They have nowhere to park.
About the people in the 5-story building?
I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about,
Only one.
so you have the crossbar here, and you have the cleaners here.
So it's the apartments above those buildings?
Yeah.
No. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
We're going to maintain an organized. All right. Anyone else? Regular mail? Any other residents of Haverford Township? Well, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Full name and address, please.
Matthew Carrier, 5 Campbell.
Carrier?
Yes, Carrier. 5 Campbell Avenue, Havertown, Pennsylvania, 19083.
What would you like to tell
Yes,
us?
thank you for hearing me this evening. I thought the proposition was very well said, besides a lot of nuances of, that's going to be sorted out during the due process. However, we spoke about the parking, which I'm not going to go into because I can't control that at this time. However, I am for economical development. Whatever's going to be there, I hope it's going to be a positive for Havertown Township. whatever is there can be a lot more beneficial to the residents of Campbell and other areas surrounding our zip code. You know, whatever we can see benefit our residents, whether it's a business of a great business like Penn, construction, yes. I know there's a C in there, pardon me, which I'm in favor of his business, right? My wife and I speak highly of it when we are going to do projects. But I'm also understandable of what others said about their due respects of how it could be a due blockage of the area surrounding other properties in the area. You know, as we spoke about with the traffic pattern, you know, we're not like Benedict where there's a traffic light. There's a fork right in front of us. So if they come out of the parking lot, I don't know for dimensions, but we can figure it out. You know, there's going to be a lot of accidents because I've tried to do a U-turn at that gas station, which I don't want to be proud of. But more importantly is when you do turn on Darby from Campbell, you only can do one way. Students walk in, pedestrians walk in. People crossing the road to go to the new restaurant that was just started up. That might change name by the time we come back. But the most importantly, whatever the name is going to be, the pedestrians are going to be walking. More volume and pedestrian are going to be, cars are increasing every day. So the more people we have in the apartments, the residential framework, we're going to add more people in driving and walking in our area. So with that being said, we have to be more respectful of who and what we're looking out for. That's all I have. Thank you for hearing me.
Thanks, Matthew. Any questions for Matthew? Jesse? Bill? Ed? Jessica? George? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. You understand the additional information that the board requested? Okay. So, I suppose we don't need to admit your exhibits tonight. We can if you want. So you want to move to the admission of your exhibit, A1 through A4? Or
Yes,
do you want to-
please. Yeah,
Okay.
we can do
Very
that.
good. Any other questions before we break, George?
No, I think I have, just my list of the questions was basically more information on the floor plans, what walls are there to stay or to go, the square foot of each floor, and then more details on the parking plan, and a listing of the variances for the bulk area.
Listing of variances, square footage calculations, existing and proposed, each floor.
Right,
Structural engineering analysis on
okay,
how you're gonna, so that you're gonna give us new floor plans that show existing structure, what's to be kept, and what's to be replaced.
okay,
Right?
Yep. Existing versus resulting.
Yeah,
That's what you expressed.
yeah.
okay,
And parking depictions that show where's handicapped, what's, right?
The, just to clarify, I think the mechanical and the structural things might take more than till the next session, but I'm just mentioning that as far as coordinating. But
I would also
I don't
ask-
know if you could give us a chance to check and get back to you.
If you're engaging a structural engineer, I think a summary of the condition of the building and how much can actually be salvaged would be very useful.
Okay.
All right. And how about May 18th?
Well, I don't know if, do you know how quick you could get somebody down? Can we check and get back to you? So you want to, how about 2 meetings, not the next one, but the following
That
one?
would be May 18th.
May 18th, perfect.
That work for your schedule?
I think so.
Cal, how heavy are we on the 18th?
I don't believe we have anything scheduled at the moment.
And what about the 4th?
The 4th, I have the 2 cases that requested continuances for this evening.
And that's it for now.
As far as I know, yes.
Okay.
So with that, we'll continue this case to our May 18th hearing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. We're going to take a 2-minute recess. We have some questions that we need to discuss before we vote on the next case with Linnell, and then we'll come vote on that case and wrap it up. Off the record, Jeff. All right, we'll resume the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, April 20th, 2023. With respect to case Z23-04, Jennifer Loops and Jeffrey Persh. Jesse, are you prepared to vote?
I am.
Bill?
I am.
Ed?
Yes.
Jessica? And so am I. Jesse, would you please take that decision?
Yes, with regards to case Z23-04, I would vote to approve the requested relief with the following reasonable conditions. 1, water shall be managed so as not to negatively impact any adjoining neighbors. 2, the porch shall not have a roof nor be enclosed in the future. 3, the project will be completed with 1 year. And 4, completed in accordance with the notes testimony.
Okay. Bill?
I agree.
Ed?
I concur.
Jessica?
Agree?
And so do I. That application is approved with those conditions, 5-0. Any other business? Minutes to move? Anything? No? We're adjourned.